12 Vorak destroyers pivoted toward the new contact before their commanders processed what they saw. Targeting lasers painted the Retribution's hull in overlapping patterns. Then 400 separate weapon emplacements across the ghost ships. Surface cycled from standby to firing sequence in 1.3 seconds. The first salvo froze on optical feeds. Beams of cobalt light lanced through vacuum without visible travel time. Each strike converted its target into subatomic particles dispersing as harmless radiation. No explosive decompression, no secondary detonations. Just 12 perfectly intact warships blinking out of existence mid-maneuver. Secondary batteries engaged before the Vorak fleet's tactical networks could update. Each subsequent discharge followed the same impossible pattern. Target identified, weapons fired, enemy vessel erased. The Retribution moved through combat maneuvers no human crew could survive, pulling 23 Gs during a lateral slide that positioned its broadside. Against a cruiser group, engineering teams on the colony surface watched heat dispersion graphs with mounting disbelief. The Retribution's thermal load should have melted its own weapons mounts after 7 shots. Instead, coolant loops registered steady 27°C readings while firing continuously. Power transfer conduits that should have vaporized under that energy. Load showed 0 stress markers. Comms traffic between Vorak ships escalated to frantic bursts, their formations scattered in disorganized retreat patterns. A command carrier activated emergency jump drives while still tethered to 3 supply vessels. The resulting spatial shear tore all 4 ships apart before their FTL fields stabilized. Thorne's voice returned, this time addressing the colony, directly. His words held no inflection, no emotional cues. Just coordinates and vectors for emergency evacuation lanes suddenly clear of enemy forces. When pressed for identification, he recited an authorization code inactive since the first. Border Wars. A Spectre from Earth's naval archives executed textbook suppression fire across 300 kilometers of orbital space. Its gunnery teams achieved 100% hit rates against maneuvering targets at extreme ranges. No wasted shots, no missed locks, just methodical annihilation of every vessel still bearing Vorak transponder signals. Damage assessments flooded colonial tactical feeds. 78 confirmed enemy kills in 4 minutes. The Retribution's targeting solutions showed perfect knowledge of Vorak shield harmonics, weapon recharge cycles, even individual captains' preferred evasion patterns. Colonel Webb's hands shook as he pulled up the ship's old service record. The final log entry showed the Retribution entering a routine patrol sector near contested space. Next came decades of silence followed by this apparition, materializing with weapons no human science could explain. He opened a direct channel to Thorne. The Retribution's weapons behaved unlike any systems in human arsenals. Standard energy beams required sustained contact to degrade shield matrices. These lances punched through Vorak defensive screens as if encountering open vacuum. Impact analysis showed not even momentary resistance before beams carved straight into hull armor. Each discharge emitted a cobalt blue flash with no visible projectile trail. Target vessels didn't break apart under conventional stresses. They unraveled at the atomic level. No emergency transmissions escaped these strikes. No life pod launches preceded destruction. Just precise eliminations leaving sensor ghosts where warships had been. Colony engineers ran diagnostics on their monitoring equipment twice. The numbers didn't change. Retribution's power output exceeded by 32 times the maximum safe yield for its reactor class. Thermal imagers showed waste heat simply vanishing instead of radiating through coolant veins. Circuit diagrams updated by engineers in real time as systems defied material tolerances. Vorak counter-battery fire hit something before dissipating. Not shields in any recognizable configuration. More like space itself thickened around the Retribution. Energy weapons. Dimmed mid-flight as if passing through viscous fluid. Kinetic rounds slowed to visible speeds before rebounding with their original momentum reversed. Bridge footage leaked later showed Captain Thorne's crew operating without verbal communication. Damage control teams sprinted down corridors at speeds. Olympians couldn't match. Tools already in hand before alarms sounded. Weapons officers input targeting solutions faster than tactical computers could display them. The entire crew moved like components in a precision machine. Maneuvering thrusters fired in combinations that should have liquefied unsecured personnel. Gravitic dampeners normally compensate for high G turns, but the retribution exceeded their design limits by dangerous margins. At one point, the ship reversed its delta V completely in under 3 seconds, enough force to turn human organs to paste against bulkheads. Vorak fleet coordination collapsed within minutes. Command ships broadcasting orderly retreat vectors suddenly veered off into uncontrolled burns. Smaller escorts abandoned their screening positions, some colliding with nearby vessels in their haste. The once rigid formation dissolved into a scattering mob fleeing in random directions. Tactical logs later confirmed 184 discrete weapon discharges. Not one missed its intended mark despite targets employing evasive patterns from 11 different military doctrines. Several Vorak captains executed textbook emergency maneuvers, only to find the retribution had already fired at their termination. Point before the turn initiated, a surviving Vorak transmission captured their tactical officer's assessment. They're not predicting, they know. No human vessel had ever achieved better than 73% hit rates against maneuvering targets at these ranges before. The retribution didn't adjust fire between volleys. Each sequence began with perfect solution lock. Engineering teams. Comparing weapon waveforms discovered something troubling. The energy signature matched classified files from Project Bright Lance, a theoretical weapon system abandoned for requiring more power than existed in any human power grid. Retribution fired 73 such beams in rapid succession without recharge cycles. Life support monitoring showed all crew biometrics stable despite combat stress that should trigger emergency protocols. Heart rates never elevated above resting levels even during maneuvers pulling 23 standard gravities. No pupil dilation or adrenaline spikes registered in any system scan. Every damage report indicated instantaneous repairs. Breaches, sealed before atmosphere loss reached hazardous levels. Weapon malfunctions corrected themselves before automated diagnostics could run. The ship appeared to anticipate system failures before they manifested physically. Colonial observers noted an eerie silence from the Retribution's combat channels. No gunnery chatter, no damage reports, just the occasional terse command from Captain Thorne in the same measured tone he'd used upon arrival. Combat operations proceeded with mechanical efficiency unbroken by human hesitation. At the 7-minute mark, Vorak fleet cohesion shattered completely. 3 heavy cruisers attempted simultaneous FTL jumps from different vectors. One suffered drive failure during spool-up, its mangled hull spinning into a frigate group. The remaining 2 vanished in spatial distortions that left sensor echoes for 17 seconds after departure. Power consumption metrics made no engineering sense. During heaviest firing sequences, the Retribution should have exhausted 6 full reactor cores worth of energy stores. Instead, internal scans showed energy reserves fluctuating unpredictably, sometimes increasing during active combat operations. Colony defense officers cross-referenced weapon effects with historical records. Closest match came from a classified incident near Tau Ceti 29 years prior, where an unknown attacker erased a research outpost with similar energy signatures. The sole surviving sensor log had been sealed under maximum encryption until today. Standard fleet doctrine calls for staggered recharges between weapon banks to prevent overheating. The Retribution fired all main batteries simultaneously for 3 straight minutes without thermal buildup. Heat somehow transferred directly from emitter arrays into empty space without passing through coolant systems. Vorak wreckage patterns revealed another anomaly. Debris from destroyed ships showed perfect radial dispersion, as if each vessel's mass converted instantly into outward moving particles without explosive force. No 2 fragments ever collided despite overlapping trajectories across thousands of cubic kilometers. Medical teams monitoring the battle noted physiological effects on observers. Retribution's weapon discharges induced temporary pupil constriction in anyone viewing them directly through optics. Auditory centers in the brain registered subsonic vibrations after each shot, despite vacuum preventing sound transmission. Late-stage analysis of tactical records proved most disturbing. Every Vorak ship destroyed had participated in assaults on human colonies previously considered unrelated incidents. Targeting priorities followed no discernible tactical logic, just historical payback lists no single intelligence network should possess. When the last Vorak vessel either fled or died, the Retribution powered down its weapons in precise sequence. Not the random shutdowns of exhausted systems, but methodical deactivation from primary to tertiary banks, as if following some prearranged checklist of completed objectives. Silence lasted 19 seconds on all channels before Captain Thorne opened a direct line to Colonel Webb. His transmission contained none of the static distortion from earlier communications. 3 sentences spoken with the calm certainty of someone describing already written history. Threat neutralized. Fallback positions secured. Prepare for secondary contact. The words sent colonial intelligence officers scrambling. If this had just been the preliminary engagement, what constituted the main event? Sensor techs began sweeping all bands for anomalies while tactical teams reviewed Retribution's unlikely performance for clues. Whatever rules of warfare humanity understood no longer applied. Dr. Cross from the colony's Xenotech division made the critical connection first. She pulled classified files about Site Gamma and certain recovered artifacts that supposedly couldn't be activated. The power signatures matched perfectly despite High Command insisting those relics no longer functioned. Her authorization code triggered a priority alert straight to Earth's deepest Black Projects database. Maintenance crews preparing to thank Retribution personnel noticed something impossible about the ship's exterior. Battle damage visible when it arrived no longer showed on hull scans. The carbon scoring and impact craters had somehow repaired themselves during active combat operations without any visible repair activity. Then every sensor on Kepler 442b detected the new energy spike. Not from the retreating Vorak remnants, not even from the Retribution watching over them. This came from beneath the colony's own surface, deep inside abandoned mining shafts thought collapsed decades ago. Something there had awakened in response to the battle. Dr. Cross accessed the emergency uplink as the seismic tremors worsened. Her hands moved through classified protocols not listed in any standard tactical database. The screen displayed power, comparisons between the Retribution's core and something labeled Site Gamma. Artifact 7. Waveform matches registered at 99.93%, despite High Command insisting those relics never functioned past initial discovery. Earth's sealed records unfolded. Across multiple screens, Project Prometheus operational files appeared with sections blacked out by 30 separate clearance codes. The original Retribution schematics showed 12 extra decks that didn't exist in public blueprints. Engine schematics included secondary containment fields with specifications no human engineer wrote. Buried in mission logs from 27 years back, Cross found the termination order. Standard patrol route changed last minute to an uncharted system. Crew manifest listed extra personnel with no service records. Final transmission from High Command included encrypted coordinates for remote detonation charges placed throughout the ship's infrastructure. What remained of the Retribution incorporated alien systems through every major component. Conduits fused with unfamiliar alloys snaked behind access panels. The bridge contained control interfaces grown into consoles rather than installed. Medical scans showed crew members with neural implants matching no known human design. Neural activity readings defied biological limits. Officers processed data faster than synaptic transmission should allow. During combat operations, simultaneous calculations occurred across different brain regions without normal signal delay. Resting states showed continued high-level cognition during what should be sleep cycles. Captain Thorne's confession came without preamble when directly questioned. The integration process had taken 14 months after first contact with the artifact. Each crew member experienced cellular-level modifications during transit through what he called the alteration chamber. Their memories contained gaps where certain procedures occurred. The ship's AI vocalized through comm systems in fluctuating patterns. Linguistic analysis detected mathematical constructs hidden beneath surface language. At certain frequencies, words contained secondary meanings, triggering physiological responses in listeners. Native speakers of 14 languages recognized elements of their mother tongue spliced together impossibly. Weapon recharge sequences followed non-Euclidean energy pathways. Power drained from spatial locations rather than internal capacitors. Targeting solutions incorporated variables from unobserved regions of engagement zones. Gun cams captured phantom images moving through solid bulkheads before weapons fired at their predicted emergence points. High Command's classified orders revealed, through 7 layers of decryption, the original Prometheus team discovered the artifact could not be destroyed through conventional means. Contingency plans called for elimination of all personnel exposed to its technology. 23 subsequent recovery teams suffered identical classification. Main engineering schematics showed dimensional taps throughout the hull. These points drew vacuum energy from undisclosed coordinates in spacetime. Attempts to map their locations produced contradictory star charts implying origin points across multiple galactic sectors simultaneously. Readings peaked during weapon discharges before stabilizing at negative values. Medical officers reviewed Retribution crew biometric archives. Original scans showed standard human physiology from decades prior. Subsequent examinations revealed progressive cellular restructuring. Current readings indicated hybrid biological synthetic systems operating with perfect synchronization. No degradation markers appeared, despite extended operation beyond normal lifespans. The ship's historical logs contained anomalies. Events described prior to artifact contact didn't match official fleet records. Crew memories diverged from documented history in subtle but critical ways. Personal accounts of major engagements included details from perspectives no survivor could have witnessed. Surviving. Prometheus project staff appeared in classified disciplinary hearings. Transcripts showed repeated concerns about cascade contamination. Quarantine protocols failed when containment specialists developed unexpected skill sets overnight. Testimony abruptly ended with reassignment orders to unspecified deep space. Postings. Black box data from Retribution's disappearance aligned with Site Gamma activity spikes. Energy signatures matched temporal distortion events recorded near both locations. Deep space monitoring stations logged gravitational waves propagating between coordinates despite light years of separation. Thorne displayed knowledge of classified operations no captain should access. He referenced engagement protocols developed after his presumed death. Tactical suggestions incorporated intelligence from conflicts that began 15 years after the Retribution's disappearance. Cross-traced the artifact's recovery to a derelict structure near Barnard's Star. Initial scans registered it as inert rock until activated by unknown means. Early research teams reported vivid shared dreams preceding technical breakthroughs. Physical changes began manifesting after 63 days of exposure. Retributions. Damage control protocols operated with precognitive elements. Repair teams arrived at breach locations before structural failures occurred. Fire suppression deployed into empty compartments moments before plasma conduits overloaded. Logs showed awareness of impending system failures with exact timestamps preceding actual events. The voice explained its survival. Certain facilities operated on quantum uncertainty principles, existing simultaneously active and inert until observed by compatible minds. Kepler 442b's mining operations created the right vibrational frequencies to awaken this node after 93,000 years dormant. Integration protocols offered improved odds. Merged Guardians combined organic adaptability with progenitor knowledge systems. Historical success rates varied between 58 and 74% for similar species. 2 technicians immediately volunteered when they saw projections, showing survival probabilities without intervention, 0 within 12 standard galactic years. Marcus hesitated. Records showed the transformation's permanence. Success cases maintained personality cores but thought in fundamentally altered ways. Failures became something else entirely, some useful, others requiring termination. No examples existed of full reversal to original states. New data streams interrupted deliberations. The Retribution broadcast emergency feeds from its forward scouts. Vorak remnants near the system's edge engaged unknown contacts matching early devourer profiles. Tactical assessments showed conventional weapons having less effect than anticipated, negative effect in some cases, actually strengthening the invaders. Comparative analysis appeared automatically. Histograms contrasted current engagement metrics, against progenitor records of initial outbreaks. Correlation coefficients registered at 0.988, statistically identical patterns to first-wave devourer incursions. External sensors detected anomalous energy readings from 3 neighboring systems. The sphere's urgency increased. Projections flickered faster than human eyes could track. Time allocation estimates shrank from days to hours. Probability matrices indicated the facility would face direct engagement within 43 minutes at current expansion rates. Final offers came with blunt clarity. Integration would take 8 to 12 minutes depending on candidate resilience. Processed Guardians could coordinate nearby assets, including the Retribution, with perfect synchronization. Chances of holding the system improved from 3% to 61% with proper leadership. Unprocessed humans had 2 options: flee with 38% estimated survival rates, or fight conventionally with certain death. The sphere showed no malice in these calculations, just probabilistic outcomes from millennia of combat data. Marcus requested visual confirmation of current threats. External feeds zoomed in on the battle's edge. Space itself fractured in geometric patterns, visible to the naked eye. Human-trained tactical computers labeled the phenomenon as sensor static, while progenitor algorithms highlighted clear threat vectors. The Devourer's advance resembled crystallization, orderly, inevitable expansion following quantum pathways. 4X ships caught in the effect staggered drunkenly before fracturing along unseen fault lines. Escape pods dematerialized mid-launch. Energy weapons curved back on their emitters in perfect loops. Then the Retribution took direct hits from unseen weapons. Its alien-enhanced shielding flared violet before failing in sectors. Damage reports showed crew members unharmed, but systems behaving erratically. Targeting solutions required complete recalibration every 4.7 seconds. Marcus asked the voice one final question: why trust humanity now after ignoring them for our entire history? The response came encoded in ancient star maps showing timelines. Humanity evolved during a quiet period between cycles. Progenitor systems had slept through our entire ascent by design. Protocols prevented premature contact until devourer activity resumed. Now required components fell into place: a compatible species, awakened facilities, operational guardians, like the Retribution. Timeframes that seemed generous moments before now measured in single-digit minutes. Warning glyphs flashed as the first-dimensional instabilities reached the planet's outer atmosphere. Transformation protocols initiated, automatically when Marcus stepped toward the central sphere. Pre-operation scans confirmed his neural pathways already aligned beyond threshold levels, likely from prolonged proximity to alien minerals during mining operations. Bio readouts predicted 91% integration success, the highest in recorded history. The chamber sealed as the process began. External viewers saw Marcus suspended in blue energy, while his body restructured at cellular levels. Internal monitors reported his consciousness expanding across quantum data channels, normally restricted to progenitor systems. Meanwhile, the Retribution adjusted formations with precision, suggesting it knew what was coming. Weapons recalibrated to frequencies progenitor logs listed as marginally effective. Crew members exhibited uncanny anticipation of system failures before they occurred. Surface eruptions signaled the Devourer's arrival underground. Bedrock vaporized where dimensional fractures touched down. Automated defenses activated for the first time in eons. Blue beams lanced upward through kilometers of stone to strike at unseen targets in orbital space. Tactical displays showed the battlefield in stark terms. Conventional forces had minutes before becoming irrelevant. Only progenitor-enhanced assets stood any chance. The sphere's final message before sealing completely with its new guardian contained 12 words repeated across all frequencies simultaneously. Initiate final protocol. Authorization, Gamma 007. May entropy forgive what comes next. Then, the real transformation began. Admiral Harrison's dreadnoughts arrived in perfect diamond formation, their newly commissioned hulls gleaming under Kepler 442b's star. Ident codes marked them as First Fleet's elite, vessels that should have been patrolling the Sirius blockade. Their sudden appearance raised more questions than their official communique answered. Harrison's transmission contained 17 words that changed everything. By order of Earth High Command, all alien technology is to be surrendered immediately. No acknowledgement of the Devourer threat. No mention of the colony's near destruction. Just crisp demands delivered with the toneless efficiency of a man reading from prepared scripts. Deep space. Defense Force ships lock weapons on the Retribution. Before finishing deceleration, targeting lasers painted the ancient warship's hull at ranges that made demonstration shots unnecessary. Tactical displays showed missile batteries cycling to ready status with that particular cadence unique to live-fire scenarios. Harrison designated the Retribution Uncontrolled Hazard Alpha on all fleet networks. Classification protocols reserved that label for rogue planet killers and experimental weapons gone critical. Monitoring stations caught energy spikes from the Dreadnought's primary armaments, modified versions of plasma lances that matched schematics stolen from progenitor outposts. Dr. Cross pulled classified files through back channels. Security logs showed 37 previous encounters with Devourer probes before today. Each incident followed the same pattern: initial contact, catastrophic losses, then complete erasure from official records. 7 black site research facilities had vanished studying this exact phenomenon. The progenitor sphere reacted before Harrison finished his ultimatum. Defensive arrays previously dormant activated across the underground complex. Energy signatures matched those that had erased Vorak ships hours earlier. Targeting solutions appeared on Marcus's neural display, showing firing solutions for every Earth vessel in orbit. Marcus accessed tactical projections through his new interface. Unenhanced human crews couldn't track the subtle energy fluctuations rippling through local space. Harrison's ships were already compromised. Sensor ghosts flickered around their engines, the same anomalies seen around Devourer-corrupted Vorak ships before their destruction. Marcus's private queries about purpose received the clearest response. The facility wasn't merely an archive, it was an armory preparing for resurgence. Something inimical to biological life moved between stars again after long dormancy. Previous cycles showed these destroyers always returned. Military advisors topside received tactical projections before requesting them. The sphere anticipated information needs with unsettling precision. Defense plans accounted for colony weaknesses the Vorak hadn't exploited yet. When asked about its predictive accuracy, it displayed 800 simulated versions of the current conversation, most reaching this point 14 minutes faster. Bio-readings from personnel showed concerning anomalies. Brain structures reorganized subtly during exposure. Neural pathways self-optimized in real time to process progenitor concepts. 2 team members demonstrated perfect recall of complex schematics they'd glimpsed momentarily. Another sketched galactic transit, routes his conscious mind couldn't understand. The sphere explained this as necessary acclimation. Full integration required organic components matching its operational parameters. Previous Guardian candidates had failed from insufficient mental plasticity. Humans showed unique adaptability, for better or worse. Core access revealed the facility's true nature. The sphere wasn't the artifact. The entire underground complex served as its housing. Excavation attempts would trigger automated defenses capable of sterilizing the planet. Self-destruct protocols remained active after all this time because what slept here wasn't meant to be contained, only wielded briefly against extinction threats. A warning came when Marcus asked about the Retribution's connection. Projected schematics showed human warship blueprints merging with progenitor operating systems. Timeline markers placed this integration just before the ship's disappearance, 27 years prior. Records indicated 13 similar facilities existed across this galactic quadrant. Only 3 remained potentially active. The sphere's awakening had triggered corresponding signals from the others. 2 responding with standby confirmations, 1 transmitting automated distress patterns. Damage reports scrolled showing prior engagements with what the sphere called entropy manifestations. Tactical feeds depicted stars unraveling along filament lines. Habitable worlds reduced to sterile rock without apparent weapons fire. The records implied this occurred through infection vectors rather than conventional assault. Final access tiers revealed humanity's projected role. Previous cycles employed multiple species as synergistic components. The progenitors themselves began as uplifted guardians from a prior epoch. Now the system proposed a human counterpart to what the retribution represented. Organic minds shaped to wield forgotten weapons against returning darkness. Marcus's retinal displays flickered, with sudden tactical updates. Vorak remnants in nearby systems reported engagements with unidentified hostiles matching entropy manifestation profiles. The sphere confirmed this through independent verification channels. Its surface displayed a countdown, matching projections. For imminent local contact, the choice became starkly clear. This facility remained by design rather than accident. Like the retribution, it sought compatible operators. Integration protocols could prepare human subjects rapidly, but at significant cognitive cost. Alternatives meant facing extinction vectors that destroyed civilizations more advanced than theirs. As if sensing his decision point, the sphere projected optimal candidate profiles across the team. Marcus's neural patterns lit the display brighter than others. Biochemical markers showed he'd already undergone more adaptation than anyone present. The facility recognized command potential when it saw it. The same traits that made him an effective leader made him suitable for merging. Final warnings scrolled about irreversible changes. Previous volunteers became something beyond their original species. Some maintained personality cores, others diverged into unrecognizable modes of thought. Success rates hovered at 63% for subjects with his profile. Topside sensors picked up the retribution, moving to intercept unidentified inbound contacts, its weapons charged to levels beyond even the Vorak engagement. Captain Thorne's transmission contained 3 words that decided the matter. "They're here already." The sphere's central mass dilated, revealing an aperture sized exactly for human entry. Internal scans showed perfect accommodation for Marcus's body dimensions. Energy readings spiked in patterns matching neural activity thresholds. Every warning label in his training screamed about unknown alien technology. Every survival instinct argued against merging with ancient machines. But tactical projections scrolling beside the aperture showed colony defenses failing within 19 minutes under current parameters. Adjusted models with a Guardian operative changed the outcome entirely. Marcus stepped forward as the sphere's surface flowed like liquid metal. His last human thought concerned whether he'd remember to fear this moment later. Then the chamber light became everything. The voice didn't speak through sound. It imprinted directly onto neural pathways, bypassing ears entirely. Team members perceived the same information differently. Marcus received tactical briefings while engineers saw schematics and scientists got raw data. All described the progenitors as builders who shaped the galaxy like sculptors mold clay. Their civilization thrived when Earth's most complex life forms were single-celled organisms. Archaeostellar maps showed constructs spanning entire star clusters. Dyson swarms harvested energy from thousands of suns simultaneously. World engines rearranged planetary orbits to suit their needs. The records described 17 distinct methods of faster-than-light travel, half still beyond human theoretical models. Then came the first encounters with what the voice termed devourers. Tactical projections showed reality destabilizing along fractal patterns without obvious cause. Stars winked out along expanding fronts. Recording vessels captured space-time behaving impossibly. Light bending at wrong angles. Gravity waves propagating backward through time. The devourers operated across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Human physics described reality as a solid sheet. The progenitors measured 12 primary dimensional layers. Devourers existed in the fractures between, like rot spreading through wood grain. Their weapons didn't destroy matter. They unraveled the rules binding it together. Historical logs displayed disastrous first contact attempts. Peace envoys had their quantum states scrambled mid-transmission. Worlds reported sudden ecosystem collapses before disappearing from galactic maps. Defense fleets found their weapons striking alternate versions of themselves. Progenitor countermeasures escalated rapidly. Early efforts focused on dimensional stabilization, creating fixed reference points and shifting reality. The sphere projected diagrams of massive constructs anchoring physical laws across sectors. Later designs attempted localization fields containing infected regions. Final solutions involved rewriting fundamental constants in controlled bubbles. Nothing worked permanently. The voice showed records each more disturbing than the last. Spiral galaxies stripped to skeletons of dead stars. Entire clusters frozen in time yet still somehow degrading. Machine intelligences that had solved entropy succumbing to corruption overnight. The facility beneath Kepler 442b served dual purposes. Its archives contained exhaustive records of failed defenses. Its armories held prototype weapons too dangerous to deploy without absolute need. Both existed to prepare the next cycle of Guardians when Devourers inevitably returned. Selection algorithms searched for specific mental patterns across species. Neural flexibility mattered more than raw intelligence. Creative problem-solving outweighed physical durability. Humans scored unexpectedly high, particularly Marcus's team, whose combined profiles triggered ancient response protocols. The sphere displayed compatibility metrics comparing species across millennia. No previous candidates had matched human scores for adaptive cognition. Certain neural markers suggested untapped potential even the progenitors hadn't anticipated. Final approval required seeing the full cost of refusal. Projections shifted to show devoured galaxies in grotesque detail. Stars still burned, but their light carried wrong spectrums. Planets orbited normally except where chunks of reality peeled away like rotting skin. Timeline markers indicated this wasn't hypothetical. These events occurred between 23 and 47,000 years ago. Progenitor defenses had delayed the inevitable at terrible cost. Last Stand archives contained self-inflicted casualties numbering in trillions. Final measures included reality-destabilizing weapons that wiped clean entire sectors to deny the enemy footholds. Some tactics slowed the advance for centuries. None provided permanent solutions. Projectile trajectories became simple line segments awaiting adjustment. A thought redirected colony defense beams through previously impossible angles. 3 overlapping shots converged on a devourer node where conventional attacks had failed. The energy dispersed as expected until Marcus tweaked its harmonic signature mid-flight. The beam's final centimeters burned with sudden efficacy, carving a molten canyon across the entity's pseudo-flesh. Creation beams responded next. These weapons didn't destroy but rewrote physical laws within their impact zones. Marcus fired 7 in staggered sequence, each tuned to different quantum states. Where they struck, entropy temporarily reversed, devourer forms unraveled into their component dimensions with shrieks that resonated across realities. The Retribution's surviving guns echoed his attacks with perfect coordination, their plasma streams now infused with rhythmic distortions that copied his new understanding. Vorak. Remnants reacted first to the shift. Their surviving warlord broadcast surrender through every channel in 17 languages. Human vessels hesitated until Thorn ordered all guns silent, then watched as Vorak ships redeployed into supporting formations without discussion. Tactical. Displays updated to show 6 alien vessels administering emergency aid to human escape pods while their own wounded burned. Thorn's voice sounded different through Marcus's enhanced hearing. Beneath the human words lay progenitor command protocols only another initiate could detect. The captain directed refugee ships towards safe zones that hadn't existed moments prior. Marcus had stabilized dimensional weak points into temporary shelters. Engineers later reported atmosphere and gravity where physics previously allowed neither. Marcus's consciousness expanded through the progenitor network. 2 other facilities acknowledged his connection. One buried beneath methane, seas on a distant gas giant's moon. Another housed inside a rogue planet drifting between galaxies. Their guardians appeared in his mind as flickering silhouettes, some barely recognizable as former organics. All transmitted warnings about awakening devourer legions in other sectors. Battle damage assessments scrolled through one corner of his perception. The colony's surface installations were 83% destroyed, though key subterranean sections remained intact. Retribution stayed combat-capable through sheer stubbornness, its progenitor-enhanced systems compensating. for 71% hull loss. Human and Vorak forces combined totaled 19 operational vessels against an enemy that didn't obey conventional kill counts. Devourer adaptation cycles accelerated in response to Marcus's attacks. Their fractures reconfigured into spiraling patterns that deflected creation beams. New appendages lashed outward, each strike altering fundamental constants in its wake. A Vorak cruiser evaporated when its mass suddenly converted entirely to light. Human targeting computers began displaying hallucinations as local physics degraded. Marcus countered by weaponizing dimensional instability itself. He pinpointed 6 adjacent realities where conditions differed slightly. One where time flowed backward, another with inverted strong nuclear force. Carefully placed creation beams stitched these abnormalities into the battlefield. Devourers attempting to phase through multiple dimensions now risked encountering environments instantly lethal to their coherence. The tactic worked for precisely 11 minutes. Then the largest Devourer segment unraveled along its own fracture lines, splitting into 97 smaller entities that swarmed like insects. Each moved with independent intelligence while somehow maintaining perfect coordination. They bypassed Marcus's defenses by simply ceasing to exist in realities where threats appeared. A tactic no progenitor record had documented. Tactical updates from other Guardians grew urgent. The Rogue Planet facility reported complete Devourer incursion in its sector. Its final transmission showed entropy waves consuming entire star systems like flame across paper. The gas giant's moon went silent mid-sentence, its Guardian's neural signature vanishing without distress call. Marcus adjusted strategy. Instead of destroying Devourers directly, he rewrote boundary conditions around the battlefield. Creation. Beams stitched together a quarantine bubble where entropy couldn't increase beyond set parameters. Inside this zone, combat continued. Outside, normal physics prevailed, protecting the retreating colony ships now jumping to safety. Thorn recognized the maneuver instantly. Progenitor records later confirmed no Guardian had ever maintained such a complex distortion field longer than 6 minutes. Marcus sustained his for 19 by offloading calculations to the Retribution's modified systems and every functional Vorak computer core. The strain melted 3 alien data hubs into slag, but bought critical time. Human. Scientists would later debate what happened next. Sensor logs agreed only on the sequence. Marcus fired 7 precise creation beams while executing a dimensional fold that shouldn't have been possible. The beams intersected at a point 20 kilometers above the colony's ruined spaceport, igniting a miniature sun that burned without fuel. This anomaly didn't radiate heat or light in conventional terms. It emitted stabilized physics, a crystalline structure of self-reinforcing natural laws that resisted Devourer corruption. The effect spread rapidly, healing dimensional fractures like scars under regenerating tissue. Devourer segments shrieked as their access to entropic realities suddenly sealed shut. Vorak ships recorded the final moments in shaky footage later studied by every surviving military. Remaining Devourers compressed themselves into singularity, points rather than face containment. Their implosions created harmless ripples in spacetime, all energy safely discharged into vacuum. Tactical computers confirmed 0 hostile contacts 93 seconds after Marcus's final maneuver. The sphere released him as abruptly as it had taken him. Marcus found himself standing in the central chamber, human-shaped again, but fundamentally altered. His hands no longer trembled. His thoughts moved with crystalline precision. Around him, the facility hummed with renewed purpose, its ancient systems now fully awakened by his passage. Thorn's incoming transmission contained no congratulatory words. The captain simply recited coordinates. Those same locations Marcus had already seen in his vision of other progenitor sites. 3 remained active. 7 showed signs of early Devourer contact. 2 had already fallen silent. Surface survivors reported seeing blue energy signatures dancing across ruined structures. Wounded soldiers swore their injuries hurt less when these lights passed nearby. Engineers found damaged equipment functioning beyond specifications when Marcus's gaze fell upon them. The merger left Marcus with absolute certainty about 2 things. This victory had cost less than 1% of the Devourer's total forces, and the remaining progenitor sites held weapons that made today's armaments look like primitive toys. As the first colonial transports lifted away from Kepler 442b, Marcus observed them through 14 senses at once. His last human emotion surfaced when he identified Elena Rodriguez among the survivors, a fleeting ache for what he'd sacrificed. Then tactical alerts sounded from the gas giant's moon. The wounded Guardian had resurfaced, its transmission now saturated with Devourer signatures. Marcus turned toward the Retribution without speaking. The ancient warship's remaining hull plates realigned themselves, gaps sealing with liquid metal that hardened under his gaze. Vorak vessels fell into escort positions without being asked. Human captains hesitated until Thorn broke calm silence with a single sentence. "You wanted to see what humanity could really do? Follow that ship." What remained of Marcus Webb watched as all surviving forces prepared for jump. The real war hadn't begun today. It had simply rediscovered worthy opponents. Progenitor systems flared to life across his vision, displaying star charts older than civilization itself. Somewhere out there, other Guardians still held the line, and now humanity would take its place among them. Retribution's engines flared, with energies Einstein would have refused to theorize. Reality itself seemed to flinch as the ship tore into folded space, followed by its unlikely armada. The Devourers would learn why progenitors feared humanity's adaptability, why weapons were less dangerous than minds that could change themselves to wield them, and why extinction events sometimes met their match, not in monuments or fleets, but in living beings who looked into the abyss and decided to rewrite its rules. The battle at Kepler 442b shattered illusions. Human potential had been measured in terms of ships and weapons, until Marcus stepped into the sphere. His transformation proved we were never the galaxy's underdogs, just sleepwalking giants. The colony became Guardian Prime, its ruined surface, hiding the war machine beneath. Marcus's final transmission contained precise coordinates in one phrase: "They're coming for all of us." Then the Retribution jumped with its patchwork fleet, human, Vorak, and something older than both. 3 weeks later, deep space monitors detected energy surges near dormant progenitor sites. Ships emerged bearing Marcus's new signature. The war had found its commanders. High Command's orders contained hidden fragmentation code. Embedded subroutines would have detonated nuclear charges in the colony's subterranean levels if transmitted completely. Only progenitor decryption algorithms caught the sabotage in time. Whoever sent these commands knew exactly what lay beneath Kepler 442b, and feared its discovery more than the Devourers themselves. Retribution systems identified 17 Devourer signatures masquerading as human vessels. Their energy profiles mimicked Earth technology perfectly, except for microscopic discrepancies in neutrino emissions. Captain Thorn watched Harrison's flagship through enhanced optics. Its hull showed hairline fractures that hadn't existed during last month's inspection. The sphere shared records of previous containment breaches. 8 cycles back, an entire Guardian network fell when infected ships penetrated their command structure. Historical logs showed corrupted vessels emitting perfect copies of friendly transponder codes before striking unexpectedly. Defense protocols now recognized this deception pattern instantly. Marcus reviewed Earth's sealed archives through the progenitor data streams. Black projects known only to the Security Council had recovered 12 functioning progenitor artifacts over 2 centuries. 7 remained safely contained. 5 had altered their research teams in ways requiring termination protocols. The most recent logs showed Devourer signatures appearing near those sites exactly 47 days before Harrison's fleet mobilization. Harrison's second ultimatum gave the colony 3 minutes to comply. His ships decloaked stealth torpedoes, with warheads matching those used to cleanse progenitor research outposts. Combat algorithms predicted total colony destruction, with 39% collateral damage to the underground facility. An acceptable margin by High Command's calculus. Neural scans of Harrison's bridge crew appeared on Marcus's display. Standard human brainwave patterns overlaid with non-terrestrial oscillations. The Admiral himself, registered as 83, Percent intact. His motor functions still obeyed human neurology while higher reasoning showed devourer influence. His tactical officers fared worse, several displaying complete neural overwrites. The sphere calculated outcomes with brutal clarity. Conventional resistance meant 12,000 civilian deaths. Compliance guaranteed extinction when devourers accessed progenitor weapons below. Probability matrices afforded one alternative with survival chances above single digits, one that required Marcus to abandon his remaining humanity completely. Progenitor defense protocols activated around the merging chamber. Energy barriers, sealed access tunnels in concentric rings. The sphere retracted its floating orbs into armored housings. Final preparation sequences scrolled across Marcus's vision. Integration at this stage would be total, irreversible, and catastrophic for anything resembling his original personality. Harrison's ships opened fire 37 seconds early. Modified progenitor weaponry struck the colony's shield grid with precision no human system could achieve. Power relays failed sequentially, as each hit introduced cascading feedback loops designed by entities who understood the technology better than its implementers. Retribution intercepted 72% of incoming fire. Its weapons performed, beyond spec again, but numbers told the story. 3 battle groups concentrated fire on single points while Harrison's compromised tactical teams adapted instantly to countermeasures. Thorn took direct hits to engineering that would have vaporized lesser ships. Underground tremors signaled the sphere's counterattack. Artillery emplacements older than Babylon punched through kilometers of bedrock to strike orbital targets. Dormant satellites around Kepler 442b awoke with targeting solutions that ignored Harrison's compromised ships completely. 28 Devourer-infected vessels vanished in the first salvo. Marcus saw the full betrayal now. Earth's leadership hadn't just known about the Devourer threat, they'd tried weaponizing it. Black Project codenames scrolled past: Scythe, Phantom Ward, Ashen Covenant. Each represented another attempt to harness dimensional breaches as strategic tools. The last entry showed catastrophic failure metrics before switching to falsified reports. Harrison's remaining ships broke formation under the onslaught, revealing their true nature. Hull plating sloughed away to expose chitinous growths beneath. Weapon ports distended into grotesque organic apertures. Communication channels filled with a tonal shrieking that made unmodified humans vomit from cognitive dissonance. Colony defense teams watched in horror as Earth's finest warships unraveled into nightmare shapes. The Retribution's surviving crew worked tirelessly to compensate, but numbers dwindled by the second. Thorn took another direct hit that sheared off 40% of his vessel's mass. Automated systems kept firing anyway. The sphere's final projection required no translation. Marcus saw his choices collapse into one viable path. Remaining human meant watching everyone die. Becoming the progenitor's perfect weapon offered slender hope at an unthinkable price. Neural integration protocols hovered at 98% readiness. Somewhere amid screaming metal and dying friends, a version of Marcus that still understood fear made its last human decision. The chamber doors sealed behind him as blue energy swallowed his final protests. Progenitor systems recorded the exact nanosecond his brain patterns shifted into alignment with their ancient war machines. Harrison, or what wore his face, howled in triumph through ruined vocal cords when the Retribution finally went dark. His corrupted fleet turned all weapons toward Kepler 442b's weakened shields. None detected the new energy signature building beneath their prey. Deep underground, something that had been Marcus assessed the battlefield with perfect clarity. It found the Devourer's weakness without effort, the subtle instability in their quantum signature, the imperfection in their mimicry. A single thought activated weapons no living progenitor had ever dared deploy. Above the ruin of human trust, above the corpses of betrayed allies, the sky itself turned inside out. Harrison's scream cut off mid-frequency as reality reasserted, itself along clean mathematical lines. The Retribution's corpse twitched back to life with 43 times its former power output. When the light faded, 17 Devourer ships remained from Harrison's armada. The rest had never existed. The chamber doors sealed behind Marcus with a sound like vault mechanisms closing. He stood alone before the sphere, its surface shifting between liquid metal and solid matter faster than human eyes could track. His last unaltered thoughts concerned whether Dr. Cross could stabilize the colony's defenses without him, concerns the sphere dismissed instantly through direct neural feed. Integration details scrolled across his vision without screens or interfaces. Painless extraction of personality matrices. Neural pathway restructuring along optimal Guardian configurations. 12-stage memory archival with 7 redundant backups. The process wouldn't kill Marcus Webb, it would preserve him inside something far stronger. Side effects appeared in clinical terminology that barely concealed their gravity. 94% loss of subjective time perception. 78% reduction in emotional affect toward unmodified humans. Certainty of developing non-terrestrial sensory modalities incompatible with organic brain structures. Survival estimates for standard humans appeared beside each projection. Current models gave the colony 17 minutes before Devourer vanguards breached the caverns. Conventional weapons reduced those odds by -8%. Their energy signatures actually nourished the approaching entities. Marcus touched his sidearm out of habit. The sphere responded instantly with ballistic analysis. Standard issue plasma pistol, 8 shots remaining, absolute 0 effectiveness against what was coming. Better to throw rocks. Across the chamber, one of the orbiting minispheres pulsed. In agreement, progenitor records of failed integrations played like warning labels. A Kelthan warrior king emerged with perfect tactical knowledge but incapable of recognizing his own offspring. 3 Ovalith scientists retained problem-solving skills while losing all capacity for language. The most recent attempt, a human from Site Gamma, had screamed continuously for 19 days before termination. Optimal outcomes showed Guardians functioning for centuries. One Hethran protector lasted 9,000 years before the strain fragmented its consciousness. Performance metrics suggested Marcus's neural structure could endure longer. His particular neuroplasticity scores exceeded all recorded samples. The sphere's final offer laid terms plainly. Full integration provided command authority over all progenitor assets in the sector, including the Retribution's enhanced systems. Partial bonding offered limited access with higher personality retention and certain defeat. Genetic scans confirmed his body could survive the process. His mind was another question entirely. Surface monitors displayed new contacts incoming at extreme velocity. Not Harrison's corrupted fleet. These ships bore Vorak transponders, but their energy signatures bled distortion. Tactical computers identified 12 vessels, all damaged, fleeing something that didn't register on scans. Retribution's surviving guns tracked the newcomers automatically. Thorne's voice came through fractured comms. The Vorak weren't attacking. They broadcast surrender codes on all frequencies while their engines burned at unsafe levels. Visual feeds showed hull breaches patched with organic-looking growths that pulsed unnaturally. Then space behind the fleeing ships fractured. Reality itself split along geometric fault lines, a crawling pattern of wrongness expanding toward Kepler 442b. 3 Earth cruisers moved to intercept or tried to. Their weapons fired into the distortion without effect. Then the lead ship simply came apart along planes that shouldn't exist, its fragments sliding into the cracks between dimensions. Marcus watched through the sphere's enhanced sensors as Devourer physics asserted themselves. The second Earth ship fired all weapons simultaneously, a standard last resort. Energy beams bent back along impossible curves, striking its own engines. The resulting explosion didn't propagate normally. Flames froze in perfect crystalline structures before shattering silently. Retribution attempted its modified weapons suite. Cobalt beams lanced toward the spreading fractures. Where they struck, reality stabilized momentarily, then adapted. Subsequent volleys achieved 40% less effect. Tactical projections updated in real time. 12 shots remaining before the ancient warship's power cores drained below combat threshold. Underground tremors signaled the Devourer's arrival through bedrock. Mining robots near Shaft 7 dissolved into component molecules without energy discharge. Atmosphere processors registered sudden changes in air composition. Oxygen atoms losing coherence at quantum levels. Structural engineers reported support. Beams passing through solid rock like ghosts. The sphere made no further appeals. Marcus's neural display showed the colony's shield grids collapsing in staggered intervals. Projected casualty lists scrolled too fast to read except for the final number. 3,492 souls if nothing changed within the next 120 seconds. Personal cost assessments appeared last. Integration at this stage would overwrite approximately 61% of original personality markers. Memory retention promised only core identity anchors, name, pivotal life events, key emotional connections. Everything else became weapons or data points in an endless war. Marcus observed his own hesitation. Clinically, part of him still feared oblivion. Another part worried about becoming monstrous. A smaller fragment simply didn't want to abandon Elena and the others. The sphere acknowledged these concerns while confirming their irrelevance against extinction-level threats. Surface feeds showed Vorak ships dissolving mid-transmission. Their final broadcasts contained sounds that made human listeners hemorrhage from ears and eyes. Retribution's hull began exhibiting the same fractures as Earth's doomed cruisers. 3 of Thorn's remaining crew chose airlock ejection rather than face whatever came next. The decision point arrived without ceremony. Marcus approached the sphere's aperture as it dilated. The sphere's blue light flooded Marcus's retinas as its surface folded around him. Neural monitors showed his synapses, firing in patterns no human brain could sustain as reality split into simultaneous perception streams. His body remained still, but his awareness expanded in violent bursts. First through the facility's sensor grids, then the colony's failing defense networks, finally into the Retribution's compromised systems. Time became meaningless beneath. A deluge of sensory data. Molecular restructuring began at his extremities. Nanoscale progenitor constructs disassembled his cells and rebuilt them according to ancient templates. Bone density increased by 900%, while musculature reconfigured into fluid-sheathed fiber bundles. Skin hardened into armored layers without losing tactical sensitivity. His nervous system branched outward, connecting directly to progenitor interfaces that spoke in gravitational waves and quantum entanglements. The transformation unlocked dimensional perception. Where humans saw 3 spatial axes, Marcus now observed 12. He watched the battle unfold across multiple realities simultaneously. Earth ships fighting in one frame while Vorak vessels decayed across 6 others. Devourers appeared as intricate, fractures weaving through all layers like veins through marble. The Vorak Horde's ultimatum was clear. Your planet will be ours in 2 hours. With shields failing and plasma cannons overheating, the colony's fate seemed sealed. Then, an unregistered warship emerged from the void, its weapons erasing enemy, vessels like they were never there. This is the story of the UES Retribution and the impossible rescue no one saw coming. Kepler 442b's mining colony sheltered 3,500 civilians across its rugged terrain. Surface-to-air defense grids formed shaky perimeter lines while mining lasers adapted for combat-tracked Vorak landing craft. Marcus Webb adjusted his tactical visor as thermal readings spiked across Sector 7. Elena Rodriguez coordinated evacuation teams through the underground tunnels. Every third blast door sealed tighter than specs required, trapping panicked groups in chambers barely rated for half their current occupants. The emergency lighting cast long shadows across faces slick with sweat from failing life support. Primary. Plasma cannons fired in staggered volleys to manage heat buildup. Even with reduced firing sequences, coolant systems screamed at 280% capacity after 18 minutes. Gunner Chen reported barrel warping on emplacement 3 before the targeting array fused into solid metal. Vorak orbital bombardment patterns shifted from surgical strikes to saturation fire. Gravity distortions rippled through the atmosphere as kinetic rods punched through cloud cover. Surface impacts registered at 14 megatons on seismographs 2 kilometers below. Their commander's transmission repeated every 6 minutes. The same 5-second clip of chitinous mandibles clicking through a translator module. No demands for surrender or terms. Just a timer synchronized across all colonial displays. Naval reinforcements showed as amber icons crawling across the tactical plot. Each projected course line accounted for maximum engine burn and minimum solar slingshots. Even with perfect calculations, they'd arrive to floating wreckage. Central Command's shield status indicator pulsed red. Reinforced alloys buckled under focused lance fire at the northern arcology. Structural integrity warnings stacked faster than engineers could dismiss them. Fighter patrol logs scrolled casualty reports. 32 interceptors lost in the first 38 minutes. Pilot Liu ejecting at 7 kilometers up without a chute deployment. Emergency beacons winking out one by one as Vorak harvesters swept through debris fields. When the timer hit 0, automated defenses switched to autonomous firing patterns. Smart munitions prioritized targets with maximum collateral damage potential. Subterranean generators cycled up to full wartime protocols no one had trained on outside simulation pods. Vorak blockade patterns showed perfect understanding of escape trajectories. Every ship attempting liftoff found 3 beams intersecting at their drive exhaust. Life pods fared worse, swatted from the sky before parachutes fully deployed. The last transport made it 17 meters off the pad before burning. Emergency tunnels collapsed under focused seismic charges at predictable intervals. Airlocks sealed themselves automatically when pressure differentials exceeded tolerance. People left for surface bombardment rather than suffocate with the crowds 19 levels down. Battery commanders received silent nods when requesting melee weapons distribution. Power loader exoskeletons stacked between barricades standard riot. Control gear couldn't reinforce. Medical teams prepped trauma kits knowing they'd run out of coagulant spray 2 minutes into any breach. Atmosphere processors bled coolant across landing zones, turning regolith into glassy mud traps. Engineers jury-rigged mining charges into area denial weapons when power cells couldn't sustain defensive grids any longer. Vorak troopships deployed right through the plasma storms. Thousands of armored forms swarming across the blasted terrain. Tactical feeds showed thermal signatures in nightmare numbers, wave after wave without fatigue or hesitation. Marcus checked sidearm charge levels while listening to Rodriguez count remaining magazine stocks. Their command post became quieter, with each passing minute, communications filtering through layers of static and interference. The countdown timer's final seconds pulsed across every display. Ground teams braced against walls when gravity fluctuated from orbital distortions. Support beams groaned under stresses no engineer planned for. First contact teams whispered old trench sayings from wars no one remembered. Then sensors detected the anomaly. The proximity alarm warbled once. A single contact blinked into existence, at bearing 274 Mark 15, registering a solid return where sensors showed empty space. Lieutenant Cho swore under her breath and wiped thermal paste from her console before the reading stabilized. No transponder codes matched known human configurations, and the energy waveform bore no resemblance to Vorak vessel signatures. Space twisted 600 kilometers off the colony's starboard side. Displacement currents rippled outward as reality itself seemed to tear open. The emerging vessel's bow pushed through like a dagger thrust from another dimension, dragging tendrils of blue-tinged quantum foam behind it. Tactical computers locked onto the anomaly, just as its drive emissions spiked beyond measurement thresholds. Power readings shattered every scale on the colony's monitoring systems. Secondary consoles auto-switched to logarithmic displays to prevent display burnout. Whatever that ship carried for reactors, it woke up angry. Sensor operators watched in silence as energy levels kept climbing past theoretical maximums for human warship classes twice its size. A voice crackled across every open channel simultaneously, bypassing standard comm protocols. Captain Thorne's transmission had no preamble, no authentication handshake, just clear diction through a wash of static that shouldn't exist at this range. His first word cut through the colony's command center like a blade. Hold. The Retribution's hull plates. Bore scars no dry dock could repair. Carbon scoring older than some colony personnel traced fractal patterns across its flanks. Impact craters from weapons no longer in service pockmarked its armor belts. Registry numbers matched no active fleet vessel, though the archives spat back one result: UES Retribution, lost with all hands near Proxima Centauri 27 years prior. The ship's navigation systems incorporated non-standard reference points. Course calculations included variables for dimensional eddies and quantum flux tides. Transition coordinates aligned with ancient stellar maps no modern astronomer used. Certain waypoints correlated with mythic locations from pre-spaceflight human cultures. High Command's termination orders extended beyond the original crew. 74 subsequent operatives sent to investigate or recover technology received identical kill-on-site classifications. No survivors returned from any contact attempts spanning 19 years. Thorne's final admission came during reactor stabilization procedures. The artifact hadn't merely modified their ship, it chose them. Selection criteria remained unclear, but integration only succeeded with specific neural compatibility markers. Failed integration attempts accounted for 14 lost research vessels. Current tactical assessments revealed the horrifying scope of High Command's deception. 9 separate black site facilities worked to replicate aspects of the technology. All ended in catastrophic containment failures. The sole surviving prototype now guarded by automated killsats in the Zeta Reticuli system. Dr. Cross's terminal displayed the final classified entry before systems locked her out. Dated 3 weeks after Retribution's disappearance, it contained a single sentence repeated in 12 languages. They walk among us and cannot be stopped. Security footage showed the writing officer's face shifting between 4 different identities before the feed cut. Seismic monitors spiked as underground structures fully activated. The same energy signature from Site Gamma and Retribution's core now pulsed beneath Kepler 442b's surface. Thorne's officers reacted with practiced efficiency, moving to positions that suggested they'd anticipated this development. Retribution's weapons recharged with renewed intensity. Targeting solutions now included subsurface trajectories through miles of solid rock. Gunnery officers input firing sequences bypassing normal safety protocols. Thorne opened a channel to the colony with clipped instructions. Full quarantine procedures. No exceptions. High Command's last transmission to Kepler, 442b, arrived 90 seconds later through secure back channels. It contained no words. Just 16 seconds of distorted audio that made 3 monitoring technicians collapse, clutching their heads. Medical scans showed their neural activity patterns shifting to match Retribution's crew. Surface scanners detected movement through collapsed mine shafts. Structures rebuilt themselves from molecular debris as energy waves passed through bedrock. Ancient machinery unfolded with perfect symmetry after millennia buried. Pressure seals hissed open along fault lines that predated human evolution. Thorne finally explained what the artifact truly was. Not technology, but a guardian. Its activation signaled the approach of what it guarded against. The Vorak invasion had merely been predators fleeing a greater threat. Now Retribution stood as humanity's first and only line of defense against something far worse awakening beneath their feet. The ship's weapons powered to levels previously unseen. Energy drained from local spacetime itself, causing gravitational anomalies in surrounding sectors. Crew members locked stations with mechanical precision as internal systems reconfigured for maximum output. Thorne's last words before battle: stations activated. Remember, we volunteered. Beneath the colony, something answered their challenge in a language older than stars. Surface recordings captured vibrations forming perfect geometric harmonics across 12 octaves. Mining robots melted into silver pools that flowed toward central chambers. Atmospheric readings showed oxygen molecules vibrating at frequencies unseen in nature. Retribution scanners identified the emerging pattern first. Tactical displays rendered it as overlapping spheres of influence expanding through solid matter. The colony's outer sensors failed one by one as the phenomenon reached surface levels. Whatever waited below made the Vorak look like harmless children, in comparison. Then the real war began. Deep beneath the mining colony's emergency shelters, seismic stabilizers detected anomalous vibrations. Survey teams originally mapped these shafts as solid bedrock. Now scans showed open structures 2 kilometers down, their geometry too precise for natural formations. Marcus's team suited up in hardened exploration rigs. the kind rated for plasma, eruptions and radiation leaks. The descent took 17 minutes through collapsed access tunnels. Reinforced boreholes snapped under pressure gradients no mining survey predicted. Each meter deeper shifted the ground composition from expected iron oxides to unfamiliar alloys. Drill bits meant for silicate rock met surfaces that self-repaired behind their passage. First contact with the structure came via helmet-mounted LiDAR. Smooth walls reflected scans perfectly before absorbing certain wavelengths completely. Thermal imaging showed internal heat sources arranged in fractal patterns. Whatever powered this place had run continuously for time frames, making human civilization look brief. Breached points showed inner corridors glowing with sourceless blue light. Atmosphere readings confused sensors. Standard nitrogen-oxygen mix, but with additional elements cycling unpredictably. Audio pickups registered a constant 47 Hz hum that made teeth vibrate despite dampening systems. 3 engineers reported sudden memory recall of events that never happened to them. Structural analysis dated construction between 300,000 and 900,000 years old. No known civilization occupied this region during that period. Wall materials matched no period in human archaeological records. Microscopic wear patterns suggested constant micro-adjustments, keeping surfaces atomically smooth across millennia. Marcus's team reached the central chamber after circumventing 7 geometrically perfect dead ends. Each turn altered their perception of distance traveled. Chronometers disagreed on elapsed time by 19 minutes. Biometric monitors showed all personnel experiencing identical brainwave modulations despite shielding. The sphere dominated the chamber, 15 meters in diameter, hovering without supports. 12 smaller orbs rotated around it along paths that defied orbital mechanics. No propulsion systems or emitters explained their motion. Scans couldn't determine whether they occupied physical space or represented projections. Neural activity monitors spiked when personnel approached the central mass. Thoughts manifested as ripples across its surface before the team voiced them. Private musings about mission parameters appeared translated into geometric symbols on nearby walls. 2 technicians collapsed when the sphere displayed their childhood, memories back to them with enhanced clarity. The voice came without sound. It bypassed auditory processing entirely, imprinting directly onto language centers of the brain. Each team member received slightly different phrasing tuned to their cognitive patterns. Those monitoring neuropaths saw words forming in visual cortex activity before conscious recognition occurred. It identified itself as the last active node of the progenitor network. Linguistic analysis placed its communication style as simultaneously ancient and post-human. Certain concepts had no direct translation, appearing as composite symbols, synthesizing multiple ideas. When asked about origins, it projected star maps, showing galactic arms in configurations thousands of years divergent from current astronomy. The sphere's knowledge base unlocked gradually, assessing human compatibility thresholds. Early access revealed histories spanning 17 galactic cycles of civilization. Images showed cultures reaching technological maturity before encountering something that scoured their achievements from existence. Records detailed 19 distinct methods of faster-than-light travel, 12 of which humanity hadn't theorized yet. Combat data played across chamber surfaces. Strategic projections depicted engagements involving energies that rewrote physical laws locally. Tactical records showed defenses succeeding for centuries before failing catastrophically. Survival percentages for various scenarios all trended toward 0 after sufficient timeframes. Biological archives contained genetic codes for 14,000 intelligent species. Comparison algorithms placed humans in the 98th percentile for neural adaptability. This explained Kepler 442b's selection as an activation site. Miners' prolonged exposure to certain mineral deposits had subtly prepared their neurochemistry. Engineering schematics appeared when engineers focused on technical questions. Power systems drew from quantum vacuum fluctuations while obeying principles resembling thermodynamics. Construction techniques used self-organizing nanomaterials that grew structures rather than assembled them. Weapon designs matched energy, signatures from the Retribution's recent attack patterns exactly.